Coming up on this week's episode, we look at how defending champions Liverpool got on, a look at Tottenham and Everton and could the roles reverse this season, have Arsenal strengthened enough this summer, and the wonders of White are back, and Liam's got another football story, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to the start of Season 3 from View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is here. Hello Liam.
Good evening Chris, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm patiently waiting for the season to start for me.
Well, my season starts in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's about to get underway for you. I've got a little bit longer to wait.
Yeah, obviously your game was called off because got further in the Europa League than anticipated. So, yeah. But
Burton Albion first before we kick off the Premier League. Burton Albion away in the Carabao Cup.
Wow. I did see today that they're going to be streaming all the games, aren't they? If they're not actually live on TV. So.
Yeah, I hope so. I wouldn't mind watching a few of our new players because I really don't know much about them.
Do you think they'll play? Or do you think you'll just use it as a friendly?
I think probably a few of the youngsters might get a game, but I think it would be daft not to play a few of the new signings just to get them bedded in for a game. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I don't know. He's always a bit unpredictable at cup games.
Yeah. So we might as well get started. And as always, Liam, you've got a teaser, I believe.
I do have a teaser. So this week I've tried for something different. New season and all that. So basically, what you've got to do is guess the player from their career path. So I'm just going to give you a list of clubs in order that the player played for, and at the end of the podcast, I just want you to tell me whose career path this is.
Okay.
So this week we've got 7 clubs. So we go PSV, Barcelona, Chelsea, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Marseille, and Sunderland.
You've
so
thrown
if you're
it in
a little
there.
bit later, there is a couple of slight hints that I can maybe give you a little bit later on, but it's worth having a think.
Just say the team names again.
I can. So we've got PSV was who they made their debut for.
Mm-hmm.
They went to Barcelona and then went to Chelsea. After that, they went to Middlesbrough and Liverpool, and then a trip over to France with Marseille, and then back over to England with Sunderland.
The Chelsea bit's got me stumped a little bit because I'm trying to think. There can't be too many players that have probably played for both Chelsea and Liverpool. So I'll
have a think. And
have a think.
I can give a few hints later on if you
okay.
want.
All right. Well, yeah.
I've written a few notes just to make it a little bit easier.
We might need them. So we'll get into this week's talking points, and we're going to start with Liverpool. Defending champions took on Leeds at the weekend. I can't say many would have predicted the scoreline, 4-3 to Liverpool. But there were a few shaky moments for Liverpool at the back, especially with Virgil van Dijk and Trent, both sort of errors leading to goals. And obviously Harrison's goal was a cracking goal, but obviously for him to get around that many players and to get shot away as well, just didn't look like the Liverpool that we saw last season. It could be a number of things. It could just be the first game of the season syndrome. But considering they haven't really signed anyone, I think it was quite a surprising result, really.
Yeah, it was uncharacteristic of the Liverpool that we saw last year in defence. I think, like you say, it could be a number of things, but for me, it looked a little bit of maybe match awareness. They're obviously used to playing with a high line. Leeds are quite an attacking team. They've carried very much on the same wavelength as they were in the Championship. And I think that maybe, obviously we've had a little bit of a break. It's not as long as normal, but I think maybe they've lost a yard or two of pace, meaning when they play that high line, we saw a few times a ball over the top or something like that. Obviously Van Dijk with miscontrol created one goal. and there was another ball over the top where it looked like Alexander-Arnold was just struggling a little bit for pace, which let Harrison sort of advance and score. Attacking wise, though, it was like nothing had changed for Liverpool. I mean,
no.
Honestly, it could have ended 6-6, and I wouldn't have said that was, completely uncalled for. There were so many chances. I think Leeds had the ball in the back of the net a couple of times and ruled out for offside. I think even Liverpool had a goal or two ruled out. It's just you don't get games like that in the early stages of the season, do you?
I think they may have underestimated Leeds a little bit, and I think when Leeds actually got the equaliser to make it 1-1, I think that might have shooken them up a little bit at the back and maybe made them a bit more nervous. Seeing obviously someone as experienced as Virgil van Dijk making a mistake, maybe just put it in the other players' minds. But I've got to hand it to Leeds. So I thought they made it a very entertaining game, and they were well in this game, and not many would have predicted. Are you gonna congratulate them?
To be fair, I've got to be honest. As much as I have Leeds fans tend to have a problem with me, I do appreciate that they are a good side. And going forward, I was a bit surprised that Bamford started after you've made a record signing for a new striker, but he got a goal, so fair enough. Going forward, I don't think Leeds are going to have any issues this year. I think they are going to score a lot of goals. It just remains to be seen defensively. Obviously, they've conceded 4 against Liverpool, which, good teams are going to do. Liverpool are so good at attacking that doesn't really matter. But I think they had a few injuries. Obviously, they've lost Ben White, who's gone back to Brighton, and maybe getting a transfer elsewhere.
Well, they tried
he was
hard,
big for them last year.
Mm.
Yeah, and I don't know whether he'd probably want to go back there. I think maybe he would. They've obviously given him his sort of break in football, but maybe he sees his career at bigger and better things at the minute. There's a lot of big teams that are after him, but I think they're going to score a lot. They might concede a lot, but with Bielsa's work ethic and how he sort of trains his players they just outrun and outmuscle everybody. They're such a physical team. I think they're going to do well this year. I can see them finishing comfortably in mid-table.
I think out of the 3 that have come up, I think
they're the strongest.
Although defeated, is not. I think they've got Fulham next week as well, Leeds. So that'll be a good sort of test for them to see what they can do.
Especially because I think a few of the Championship teams that have come up this year haven't maybe spent wisely or haven't spent enough.
Fulham,
it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I mean, Fulham we moaned at for spending too much when they came up the last time. Now we're not spending enough. So it's finding a balance in that. But Leeds transfers this year have been okay. Rodrigo, I'm not so sure about. He's not a prolific goal scorer.
No.
But he could prove me wrong. I don't. He's been playing for top clubs in Europe, so there must be something there that scouts know that I don't. But I think Leeds will be fine. And I think they've bought well. I think they had a good base there to begin with. There's players that have been at the club for a long time, like we saw Click score, and I think Aylin was part of a lot of good things of what they did going forward.
Yeovil.
I know you know him very well.
Yeah.
But he's a good player, and to have players like that
good
in your team, and they've been there for sort of 4 or 5 years, I think it'll do Leeds good.
Mm. We'll move on to 2 teams that I think we both agree on may role reverse this year. So Tottenham versus Everton. Some really exciting signings for Everton. I think they've really strengthened that sort of midfield of especially Allen and Doucouré. I think Allen is a very underrated player, and I was really surprised when they got him for like 25 million euros, I think it was, which is such a good price because he had a really, really good season over in Serie A. And Doucouré, out of the Watford players, if you could probably pick one, he'd probably be definitely up there with the players that you definitely take.
Absolutely.
And then add sort of the flair of Rodriguez in, looking to probably sort of reinvent himself a little bit. Obviously, he had that immense sort of World Cup that, in the end got him to Real Madrid, and then he drifted off slowly, and I think he went out to loan to Bayern Munich, didn't he? I think, and then
Yeah. I don't think he did too
really
much.
work out there. But I think if it's something that Everton needed, it was that sort of flair player.
Yeah.
Because they've got strikers that can score goals. And I think they finally found someone that can provide. I'm not saying he's going to provide, tens of goals, but he's definitely going to be up there with assists, I think, this season. And I think from what we've just seen in the Tottenham game, I think it's very promising for Everton. I think, for so many seasons now we've been saying what their club have been saying that they're on, they should be getting into those top six. And I think this is probably their best transfer window. I can personally think that they've had for years. And like I said, on the pitch, it showed.
Yeah, it did. I think Rodriguez is. I think we saw flashes of what he's capable of in the Spurs game.
Yeah.
I think for him, he seems to be very much he sort of goes with the wind a little bit. If the fans like him and he feels like he's a bit loved, then I think his performance has improved. But I think if fans turn on him like they did at Real Madrid, his record at Real Madrid wasn't too bad. I think it was sort of a goal every 3 games or something, which isn't. It's not horrendous by any means, but I think he just didn't fit the fans, did he?
He just got overcrowded in the end with other top players coming in.
And he wasn't the big player, was he? I think that's another thing that he might have wanted to be the star player, and obviously with Ronaldo and Bale and all those players going through Real Madrid, then it was never going to be that way. But I think he's found a club in Everton that they would happily make him the star player. I think the fans, when we do get back to a bit of normality, they're going to flock to see him, and I think he's going to feel loved, and I think it's going to be an environment he can do well in. But like you say, I think signing Allen and Decore, I think is maybe going to give him the freedom to do that. I'm not quite sure where Sigurdsson fits in with all this, because he must be sat there thinking they've just signed 3 players in my position. Maybe he
was their best sort of option in that position as well. So
I think they've been very smart. I think they know that their strengths lie in. I really rate Calvert-Lewin, so they didn't need to buy a striker. They've got someone that can score goals, and he scores all types of goals. He's quite strong. He's good in the air. He's good with his feet. But now they've got someone that can provide, and I think they've got a team that will now allow them to do that. I think sometimes last year we saw if Sigurdsson or whoever, like Bernard or someone, would go into an attacking situation, it would leave them a bit vulnerable at the back. But now I think they've got a couple of holding midfielders or box-to-box players that are energetic enough to allow Rodriguez to say, right, I'll sit in and around the striker. And I think we saw that at the weekend. Rodriguez, every time he picked up the ball, he was going forward, he was providing forward passes, he was running at the defence. And it's something that I don't think we've seen for a long time in an Everton shirt.
Definitely. I think I saw somewhere as well that he created 5 chances at the weekend, which is the most of any debuting player in the Premier League since Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal. So that's good.
That's an early wonders of white for us.
Yeah. But then we go on the other hand to the home side. And you look at the players that they've brought in. Doherty is a very good right back, but is he that sort of player that's going to get them into the top 4? I don't think he is.
As part of a bigger transfer window, maybe, but not on his own. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on any right back, let alone, it doesn't matter how good they are, really. I do like him. I think he played really well for Wolves last year. He even chipped in with quite a few goals. And he did actually have a chance in this game, and he was getting forward well, but the reinvestment that needs to happen for Spurs is not just one or 2 players. It's the spine of a team now. They still haven't replaced Eriksen, I don't think. They've obviously Kane up front is a great option, but who do you partner alongside Sanchez at the moment? I don't think they've got a centre half that is on the same level as Sanchez, and even he can go wandering a few times in games.
Well, yeah.
And they've been asking questions of their goalkeeper as well for the last 12 months. I know Lloris has been injured for quite a while, but when he has played, he's made a few errors here and there. And I know that there are a few Spurs fans thinking maybe his time is up. So I think it's more. They're not a club that goes out and spends a load of money. That's the problem, and I think they need to seriously reinvest. If they want a challenge. I think they're just going to go backwards.
This is the weird thing. So I don't know if anyone's watched the All or Nothing series on Amazon. Obviously, following Tottenham last season, but the very last episode, the head of recruiting there, he says that Mourinho, in his mind, thinks that he needs 4 or 5 key players to complete that squad. And then, so that was at the end of last season. Move forward 3-4 weeks to this season, I don't think Mourinho's got anyone in that he would have put forward.
I don't think Doherty is a Mourinho signing.
No. I don't think Joe Hart's a Mourinho. So I know Joe Hart is only there, probably third choice. But I just don't think they've had it. They've not strengthened enough for me to say that they will finish in the top 6.
No,
I don't. I think
Højbjerg as well. Højbjerg started in centre midfield against Everton. I can't personally see what they have seen in Højbjerg at Southampton to warrant bringing him in.
I don't think
see how he improves what they have.
I don't think necessarily that it was them if they needed a player in. I think you've got Sissoko, Winks, Dele Alli. I think, as midfield partnerships go, they're probably one of the best in the Premier League. I know, on paper, but I think, like you said, they definitely needed a centre back. Obviously, Vertonghen left as well.
Yeah.
Kane and Son up top. Mora, Bergeron, and I think they're okay in sort of in that department as well. I still think they needed another striker, but the thing is with Tottenham is you come in as a striker, you're not going to get ahead of Harry Kane.
Yeah,
that's always going to, if they approached you, that's always going to be in the back of your mind as to whether you're just going to be sat there for week in, week out on the bench. So yeah, I don't know.
I think they'll struggle to get.
I think they'll struggle.
I think they'll probably make the top 8, but I think they'll struggle. They'll definitely struggle for top 6 this year.
Yeah.
Unless they have a great last week in the transfer window and bring in 4 or 5 players. But
I think there's like 2 weeks left, isn't there?
I can't personally see it. Even the rumours, normally Spurs are rumoured with bringing back Gareth Bale or big transfers like that is never going to happen.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, they've not.
But they haven't really been linked with anybody, and I don't know whether it's the stadium that maybe Levy's thinking, I've got to pay this off. Maybe we don't go out and splash cash on players, but he's never really been like that anyway. So I think it's going to be a slow process to get them back to challenging right at the top again.
We'll wait and see, but we'll move on to Arsenal and their summer business. One of them which scored at the weekend, and they look really good. And to be fair, sort of end of last season, Arsenal, were playing really well, so they've kind of just carried on from where they left off. I think Aubameyang, probably one of the best strikers in the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah, they need him to sign a contract.
Yeah. I literally, I don't know what is taking so long to get him to sign this deal, but
they seem pretty confident from the post-match interview. Arteta seemed.
Oh yeah, I think it will happen.
I think
it will happen. It's just probably just a few niggly bits. But I thought in all areas, Arsenal looked pretty good. Even defending, they looked pretty good.
Yeah,
so,
you can't say that every time.
I've not said that very often last season. I think it's Gabriel, isn't it? The new signing. I think
he had a good game.
Definitely has.
A bit shaky A bit shaky at the start, I think he was, but gave a few passes away. But I think once he hit his stride, I thought he played very well.
But yeah, I thought all in all, I thought they looked pretty good. I know it was, it was Fulham they were playing, but Fulham would have definitely been up for that game.
Yeah.
I think if they were to lose Aubameyang, if something drastically went wrong, I think they will struggle to replace. I think he, for them, is probably irreplaceable at this present time.
Yes, I think you're right. I think that Arteta has really changed my opinion of him towards the end of the last season. I think he's now sort of stamping a little bit of authority. It says a lot that he's now gone from head coach and he's now officially their manager. And I like the way he's going about his business now. He's not sort of flash. He's not showing off. He's not trying to do it the old Wenger way. Obviously, he played under Wenger. He is trying to sort of do it his own way. But they actually played some really good football. Yeah, I thought Aubameyang's goal was, one of the best team goals I've seen for quite a long time from their own box, passing it all the way and scoring. So I think there are definitely positive signs. I thought Gabriel played well on his debut. Looks like he's going to be a good signing. A lot of people that watched him in French football say that he's a quality defender, but I hate to say it, Chris. I think Willian on a free is probably going to be the best bit of business this season.
I've not mentioned him for
sorry for bringing up bad memories, but I thought he played really well.
I don't want to mention his name. Yeah. His name will be beeped out, so you'll just hear a beep when you hear this fact. But no, he had he got man of the match as well.
Yeah, he played very well.
Obviously, I was going to mention him. I was sad to see him go. I think creative-wise, I think he was probably one of our better players last season. He's very consistent, I must say, over even when we were playing really bad a few seasons back in the Marina, he was the one player that was scoring goals. And I think if it was just a year that was the deal breaker on the contract, I think keeping him they should have tried at least to keep him. Yeah. But what I've seen online, he wanted a 3-year deal. They were kind of like, well, no, it's 2 years on nothing. And obviously we have bought in creative players, but
I don't necessarily know if you're going to miss him because you have bought in a lot of good players in his position, but I just think to let him go for free and almost as easily as you did is probably a little bit of poor business. I'm not blaming Lampard for that, obviously. No. I think isn't it sort of the like a rule at your club, if you're over 30, then there's no long contract, basically. I think that was what Abramovich bought in years ago. I don't know whether it's still there.
Silva slipped through the door there, mate. It's how old are you? 29?
Yeah. I just think it's maybe poor management somewhere in the boardroom there and letting him go so cheaply. To a rival. If he'd have gone abroad, I could have understood it a bit more.
Yeah.
When I think once they knew Arsenal were interested, I'd have been doing everything to say no, you're not going across London to play for our rivals. But I think that's a good bit of business from Arsenal's point of view. Certainly better than the last free signing that they got from Chelsea, which was David Luiz, wasn't it? Was he free? I think. Very cheap.
No,
anyway.
I think they paid money for him. They paid like six. They paid 7 or 8 million because I think Chelsea got him to sign a 1-year deal, but it was only just to sell him for money. I think that's how it worked.
I think that this has maybe made up for it then. So let's just swap it around and say Willian went for 6 or 7 million and David Luiz was free. I think it all works out then.
But yeah, promising signs for Arsenal. But that's all the talking points from this week. We'll be back in part 2 with a footballing story from Liam's encyclopedia of footballing knowledge or something. I don't know what we're going to call it. But yeah, we'll be back in part 2.
You could just call it Google, to be fair.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from the Sideline podcast. And we're going to start with a story from Liam.
Yes. So, Chris, this week's story involves something that's close to our hearts and I think close to a lot of listeners. Of course, I'm talking about Football Manager, a game that I know that you love, a game that I love, that I talk about non-stop. So I've basically been playing since back in the Championship Manager days. So 03-04 was my first game.
Yeah, I think that was probably my first as well.
So
I'd hate to think of how many hours or days or years I've accumulated on that since.
Oh, I've wasted so much of my life, but it's been completely worth it. So I jotted down a few things. I had a trip down memory lane when I was doing this. So I've got Jose Julian de la Cuesta was going to be the best centre back in the world on that game. Lionel Morgan was about to come out of the Wimbledon Academy and be the next Ryan Giggs. And if you wanted goals, you needed to sign Evandro Roncato, who was a reincarnation of Romario, except Romario was still playing. So it was heady days for the world of virtual management. Basically, since then, the game's gone on to be a bit of a staple in the lives of football fans everywhere. And I think every year we get lulled into believing their ratings for players. We believe what their scouts tell us, and we believe all their statistics.
That's so true.
Which leads me
whenever someone signs someone, I always say, yeah, he's good.
Instantly.
Wait, 5 years on Football Manager, he's the best player on the game.
Instantly go, do I know him for Football Manager? Yes, he's going to be great. So that it leads me nicely onto our story this week, which involves the Monaco defender Ruben Aguilar. So Ruben Aguilar was born in Grenoble in France, and he's played for a number of French clubs, including Saint-Etienne, Grenoble, Auxerre, and Montpellier. He's basically been in and around the French top flight for about 7 years. So when eagle-eyed Bolivians spotted his second nationality on the game, the media in the country went into a frenzy about how he needed to get a call-up for Bolivia. This, however, was a massive mistake on the game, and Ruben Aguilar had to release statements refuting the claim made by the Football Manager database. So he responded to it in an interview with Goal magazine, where he said, "I think basically it all starts from Football Manager. They put me as Bolivian nationality in addition to my French nationality. After the meeting with PSG, it was multiplied by 100. I received lots of messages, and in Bolivia they were talking about me on TV saying that I was selectable. I was forced to make a statement on my page to explain that I was not Bolivian." So there we have it. Football Manager is not always right. Who would have thought? They've never got anything wrong before, which is why Supat Rangratsamy and Anatoly Todorov are currently household names banging in the goals. They got a nationality of a player wrong, and everyone in Bolivia believed it.
Imagine becoming like a national hero, but not being associated to that nationality at all.
Yeah, it's just everybody believes what Football Manager says. Yeah, great. Even hooked in the media. So wonderful. Well done, Football Manager. Keep on going.
I don't know if you ever started in like lower league. Team probably have I'd say around like Football Manager 11, 12. Is it Fabian Brandy? Yeah. The guy with like 17 finishing and 17 pace, but all his other stats are terrible.
Yeah.
So he used to score so many, and you could sign him literally so easily, like in lower league.
Yeah, I think
and he would just bang the goal. He'd just bang the goals in for you.
So I bought him for Walsall. I was Walsall manager on 2011, and his goals basically got me up to the Premier League. And I think about 2 or 3 years later, he actually signed for Walsall. And I thought, I predicted the future here. This is where it starts for them. And I think he got 2 goals in about 50 games. He hardly scored for him at all.
Did you message Walsall
they've got me on the scouting team, yeah.
Yeah. Just to let you know, Fabian Brandy scored about 18 league goals in 18 games for me for Walsall. Sign him. Oh, that's funny, isn't it? It is a funny old world when it comes to Football Manager, but I totally agree. Whenever anyone signs a player that no one's ever heard of, and I think I recognise that name. Oh wait, yeah, I know. Yep, I signed him for Ajax in like 2020, and it's now 2029, and he's like a folk hero at the club.
Yeah.
So yeah, totally agree. But yeah, it's quite embarrassing though, isn't it?
It is,
having to release a statement saying I'm not Bolivian.
There we go.
Oh, that's funny. That's a good story. I like that, and it was Football Manager related, so
always good.
So yeah, so we've got some Wonders of White back for a third season. Probably the longest running feature I think of this podcast. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's my favourite bit, Chris, as I always tell you. Keep it going.
Right. So the first one actually is to do with a Dutch legend. It's quite Dutch heavy on this podcast today. So this is to do with Arjen Robben. So he played his first league game in the Dutch league for 16 years yesterday, after coming out of retirement. But unfortunately, only lasted 30 minutes as he had to come off injured.
that sums his career up, really.
Such an ironic thing, isn't it? Yeah. Comes out of retirement to play in the Dutch league, and then 30 minutes into the game, he had to come off. Unfortunately, I don't know the extent of the injury yet, but he's probably out for like 6 months or something.
Yeah, that's it. He's going to retire again. That's it.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay, this is the first time that Jose Mourinho has lost an opening day fixture in his career.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was 18 seasons unbeaten first opening day.
God, that is impressive.
All three promoted clubs lost their opening day match, which is the first time that's happened since the 13-14 season, when the three promoted clubs all lost. You can have a guess at who you think that those three clubs were if you want.
What, in 13-14? Who would have come up then?
I'll give you a clue. One of them is still a Premier League club. Two are not.
I'm going to say Crystal Palace.
Palace is one.
And I'm going to say Hull.
Hull is the other.
And Cardiff.
Cardiff is correct.
Oh, that's a good guess, isn't it?
I was going to give you a clue saying it is one of the Welsh clubs. And last but not least, Virgil van Dijk has made 2 errors leading directly to goals in his last 4 Premier League games, which is the most he actually registered in his last 154 games, and Chelsea have just scored a penalty. Sorry, I've just tailed off.
I wondered I thought you were getting a little bit quiet for a minute there.
Yeah, Jorginho's just scored a penalty. He only registered 1 error leading to goals in 154 appearances for the club. But in his last 4, he has done it twice. Not that good after all, was he?
Van Dijk out. Get rid.
In come Chelsea if he wants. We're used to making errors at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. You've had years of David Luiz.
Okay, right. Your teaser.
Yes.
I've got
would you like me to repeat it?
Well, you said Dutch football, so now
Yes.
I'm thinking Dutch players that have played for Chelsea. So the first one that came to mind was Winston Bogarde, but he never played for Liverpool.
No, more is the pity, to be honest, on that. I don't think he ever played after he went to Chelsea, did he? I think he signed and then that was it.
Mario Melchior
He is a
not
Dutch player
play for
that played
Liverpool.
for Chelsea. No, he didn't.
Zenden, Dutch, did
Tick.
play for Chelsea.
Tick.
Not sure he played for Liverpool. Come back to him. But then it's got me thinking, is the person actually Dutch? But you've just said tick. So
Yeah.
You've got.
Because I thought you were struggling, so I thought I'll give him a bit of a hint. So yes, I can confirm he started at PSV. He is Dutch.
Is that like a rule of thumb? If you start your career at PSV, you must be Dutch. Did Sandin ever play for Liverpool? We didn't play that much for Chelsea, but I know he definitely played for Middlesbrough. You said Middlesbrough, didn't you?
I did say, yeah. Chelsea, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Marseille, and Sunderland were his last 5 clubs.
He definitely played for Middlesbrough, but then I thought he just retired. I thought he was quite old when he came to Chelsea, but
I think you need to believe in yourself.
Oh, maybe I'll go for Zendon then.
I think you were basically there anyway. So yeah.
So he did play for Liverpool.
He did. So he played. So he started at PSV in 1993 and played there until 1998 when he went to Barcelona, which is. I mean, I didn't even know he played for Barcelona before he went to you guys.
I completely forgot you even said Barcelona, to be honest with you. I thought you plucked PSV and then Chelsea. Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought you plucked him out of some obscure Dutch team, but no,
I was just thinking of Dutch players.
And then obviously he went to Middlesbrough for a year on loan, and then he went to Middlesbrough for a year as a permanent player. And then Liverpool bought him, and then he played 23 league games for Liverpool in 2 years. So he was a bit part player, really. I'm just having a look at his stats now.
Yeah, did he move to
well, actually, yeah. He did. I mean, he didn't play many league games, but he played a lot of cup and European games. So yeah, he had 49 games in 2 years for Liverpool before heading off to Marseille, and then finally ending at Sunderland in 2011.
Where did you? What year did he sign for Chelsea?
2001. He signed for Chelsea, and then he left in 2003. So he played 59 games for you in total. That's cool.
I must have seen him live at some point, I think, because I would have definitely gone to the games in between those years.
I always thought he was a good player, to be honest. I mean, he did sort of hang on a little bit too long at the end of his career, I think. But Sunderland days weren't great.
He was, I suppose, if you could compare him to any sort of, he's a bit like Christian Eriksen. Not saying he's probably as good as Christian Eriksen, but they're not known for pace, but their technical sort of stats were out there.
Yeah, I think he could play everywhere, couldn't he? I mean, I think he played left back and both wings and attacking midfield and all sorts. But yeah, he was a good player in his day. I was quite surprised. I was having a look at his stats earlier, and he's got 54 appearances for Holland. I didn't think he'd have that many. But yeah, he's now a coach back at PSV, and he was your assistant manager for a while, Chris. I don't know if you remember that.
Cool, blimey. When was that?
That was in 2012, 2013. He was your assistant manager.
Oh, that must have been Hiddink? 2012. Yeah, because that was the year Di Matteo got the boot after winning the Champions League.
When Rafa Benitez took over as manager.
It
says here, in November 2012. Then
because that was when Di Matteo got sacked.
Yeah. So
and then Rafa came in. Rafa won us Europa League, you know.
He did.
Wasn't liked with many Chelsea fans, but I quite liked him. I thought he was good. That Europa League is quite memorable for me because my car broke down at work. And I did not end up leaving work till about 10 minutes before kickoff. But luckily, I wasn't too far off from where I lived back then. But I almost missed that final.
Did. There you go. It was very Dutch heavy this week. I'll maybe go for someone who isn't Dutch next week.
The guy that scored the winning goal in that game, Ivanovic, you see he's coming back to Premier League.
Yeah, it looks like West Ham, I think.
Yeah.
They
love their old sort of right backs, don't they?
Yeah, I mean Zabaleta's only just gone, hasn't he? I thought Ivanovic had retired a long time ago, to be honest.
No,
I didn't think he was.
He's been playing in Russia, hasn't he? I think, or something like that. So.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit too much for him to be starting every week.
That's not making the podcast. He's mocking.
Sorry.
Mocking.
I'm not mocking.
Like
I mean, he was a great player, but he's 36.
He's one of your best centre backs you've ever had. Melberg, Melberg passed, didn't he?
I will not hear anything bad said about Olaf Melberg.
Olaf, do not say anything bad about Olaf.
No. You've got to have a look at him, and he scored the first goal at the Emirates. That's going to go down in history, So he's not just a club legend, but an Arsenal legend as well. Sort of.
He's hated at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, at least I got that right, actually, because I've been pretty crap at getting your teasers right, to be fair. So
You did get it right. Well, I'm gonna try and find a few new formats, but I think that will be a keeper. I think I might use that again.
To be fair, after I got past ending, I was struggling to think of any other Dutch. I thought Ruud Gullit, but I thought no, that's all way too way back. He definitely didn't play for any of the other teams. So
Ruud Gullit turning out for Sunderland would be something, wouldn't it?
Anyway, anything else?
Nothing from me.
Oh, right. Well, we will be back next week.